This is STARS Officer Rebecca Chambers, and you're listening to Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast.
What is going on, everyone? Anthony here, and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast. And we are back with Andrew, JJ, and Beggy to talk some Keeper's Diary. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I can't believe we are essentially at the finish line. This thing is dropping Sunday, June 30th, and wow. Like, what a roller coaster of just like events, emotions, all just like we're here. It's kind of wild, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'll still be editing all the way up until probably Sunday morning.
Then you'll be editing after that, and then director's cut, baby.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, right? It's like you're never, what does it say? You just walk away, right? Like you're never completely done. You just got to walk away and be like, all right, I think it's it. I think this is it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot to, mess with stuff back and forth. And like, it's crazy that we're just finally, it's going to essentially not be our little like thing anymore between us. It's like, it's going to be just like unleashed to the world. So that's kind of like a weird feeling, but a very fulfilling feeling, I'm sure, because it's like, it's all just been, between what we've been, seeing in the chats through, different cuts and everything like that. And now it's like, man, to think that, it's also getting, really good response just from the teasers and the photos leading up to this point has also been a really good feeling, because everyone's been feeling pretty confident that what we're trying to bring is something that is, from the heart, not just some Hollywood whatever. And that's kind of been the pitch from the beginning of like, we're trying to do something that, fans would want to see. So I've been really, it's definitely been a lot more positive than I thought, because sometimes you put something out there, like with the trailer, obviously, that was the big thing of like, okay, let's see what people respond. And most of it was pretty positive, so.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So I kind of want to wind the clocks back a little bit too, because the last time I had Andrew and Charlie on in August when we just hit the crowdfunding goal. And
Yeah.
So I want to wind the clocks back a little bit, like, and I guess, this is kind of a question for everyone, whoever wants to go first, but how did you find the preparation process from like when we hit that goal in August to like we were going to be rolling in October? Like, I'm sure, for everyone, they felt some kind of, stress or maybe some pressure to kind of like, get things moving. But how was that for you guys when like we actually hit this thing and then it was like the ball started to roll even further?
Chaotic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I need to get everything ready in like a month.
Yeah, and you had a long drive to take that set with you, which is like, that was wild in and of itself. I was like, dude, Andrew is going to be dead by the time we start rolling.
I was dead the whole time.
He's just going through the motions, baby.
I'm still dead.
Yeah, he still hasn't recovered from October.
He is the keeper. This is like the story of Andrew becoming a zombie.
Yeah.
It's funny. Charlie got like absolutely no sleep, and it was perfect for his role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was able to sell the keeper's role of the Descent a little bit better,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, me and my dad damn near saw the Colorado and the Mississippi in the same day, I think.
Wow. Yeah. So that's the thing too, man. It's like, especially when you're dealing with, trying to get something like a set built on time. That's a lot. I've never like worked with like a built set like that before to that extent. And I was like, man, like I just remember I walked in and, shout out to Rob Noor, but I saw him because I didn't even see Andrew yet. I walked in the warehouse and he's just like, who are you? Like, he's just kind of making a joke. And then I'm just like, oh, what's up, man? Like, and he's just like, hey, you want to help me with this thing over here on this? And it's just immediately from there, it was just like, we just kept moving. It was like,
oh yeah, there, bud.
Oh yeah, bud.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's just, that literally encapsulates the comedy that we had to keep going with some of the, when you're just dealing with so much long hours and stuff, you need to have, some kind of, some laughs going on. But yeah, that was really just like, it was crazy to see where it was before and after in such like a short amount of time, with just how many people we needed on deck to like just try to move that thing across. And like, you know, the way it actually looks on camera, when you guys out there that are listening to this podcast see the final product, like you're going to be like, wow, okay, this is like, the attention to detail is there. And that was the goal, was to have sets that feel like Resident Evil, to have the shots feel like Resident Evil, to really encapsulate the vibe that we were going for. And I think, yeah, I know at some points, definitely with the set, it seemed like it was never going to get, you know, finished, on at least while we started rolling. And in a way it wasn't, because we were rolling in one section and then everyone else was working on the other side of the wall. So we're sitting there just like shooting in the keeper's room. You just hear like, you know, drills going off. You hear saws, like we're just sitting there rolling.
You ever see that sketch from Robot Chicken when the Emperor is talking to Luke, but all these guys are still building the Death Star in the background?
No, I haven't seen that.
He's trying to talk over them. Man.
Like, there's so much Andrew, your dad, Rob were doing, you know, and it's almost like you guys got it done because we had to get it done, right? But when it did finally come together and everybody started pitching in, everybody knew like, hey, we got deadlines we got to meet, you know. Once it was complete and you were standing in that room, it was crazy how it felt like, holy crap, I'm here. I'm in the keeper's room. I'm in the hallway. Like, it kind of, once you got to see it, it was like, it made it all worth it. Like, it was just like, all right, a lot of work, but man, this really came together and this is very authentic to the game. And I'm standing in it. That's wild.
Yeah, it definitely was a wild feeling to just be like, yeah, like we saw where it was, like the skeletal kind of, you know, part of it. And then you see the finished product of it and you're like, damn, this is like, you know. And when we finally stopped rolling in the warehouse and we finally, like, you know, I think it was the infirmary was the first place we went to shoot.
Yes.
I think when we got, when we like were finally done the warehouse that day, we went to the infirmary and we were just like,
right before the barn.
Yeah. And that was nice to obviously break out of that a little bit, because it felt like we were just like in that keeper's room forever.
Oh, I know. It was freezing and like
it was cold. We kept giving Charlie the jacket, you know, just to be like, all right, in between scenes he's sitting there huddled. We got the portable heater. It was cold, man. I mean, I've never been to Michigan/Wisconsin in that time of year, but being there in October, it was like how, like, probably mid to late November weather is over here, as far as how cold it was. And when I say over here, I mean South Jersey, compared to, you know, driving out there. I was like, okay, like I see, just driving against Lake Michigan on the way there and seeing like all the leaves turning color already, and like back in Jersey, it was just happening. So it's yeah, the weather was definitely a thing that was against us a little bit. But, you know, it comes with filming around that time of year. Sometimes you do have to worry about the weather, and that's just what filmmakers always have to be up against. And then when we went to the final the skeleton crew night, which was a crazy night, we'll get into that a little bit later. But man, that was like, that weather was crazy, because it's like, it was actually warm out, and then it just stormed, and we're like, great, now we got to cover all these lights, and we have to that was crazy.
That was weird, because it was like 70 and rainy, and then we all passed out in the camper, and that morning the pipes froze over.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
not the pipes, but the hose that goes into the camper.
But that's how weather is here, man. It's back
Michigan,
and forth.
Michigan, classic Michigan weather.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable.
Yep.
It
was yeah, man. So like, that's the thing too. Like, I think you know, once we got everything kind of moving, especially once the sets and everything were ready to go, yeah, we really just got, everybody knew what they had to do, and it really was kind of like what you mentioned in the little message. Like, it really was like a well-oiled machine once we got the ball rolling, and everything was, you know, everything was moving. And I think like the one thing that you always run into is, of course, like, you know, different challenges and stuff like that you didn't expect while, you know, you start rolling and stuff. So I'm curious to see, like, you know, everyone's individual, I guess, challenges that you had to kind of overcome. Or was there a specific moment that any of you guys, whether it was like, you know, it could be from the set, it could be from getting a specific shot, what was like one of the biggest challenges that you probably didn't expect going into making this project? anyone can jump in on that.
You guys want to go first?
You go first.
Uh-oh. Everyone's pointing the finger back. What is it? What's the challenge?
I mean, yeah, definitely the sets. I feel like it's funny. So my dad is the kind of guy that's like, when he puts something together, zip, 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 done. And Rob is the kind of guy that, he was clamping it, screw, clamp, screw. And it was funny watching them work because my dad was like, "Ugh." So, but I feel like the sets, the way the sets were put together were great. I just feel like if I had another week to do it, it would have been more ideal. But that's the thing is like time.
We were down to the wire finishing that set, man. Down to the wire.
You don't have, you don't have 2 weeks. So,
but it turned out good. Like on camera,
right?
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the biggest like thing at the end of the road was like, okay, how does this look on camera once everything is like in place, color corrected, and like how does this look? And then it's a solid aesthetic for what we wanted. So I think that definitely was the thing. Yeah, it never feels like you have enough time, and there's never enough hours in a day, so to speak. Where you're just like, man, where does the time go? Like we did X amount of work on the set, and then we still need to do so much. Like it just seemed like it was probably never going to end for from some of you having to work on that stuff constantly while we were also shooting in the keeper's room and all that stuff. Did any of you guys feel any I guess I don't want to say pressure, but did you feel like the accuracy, the attention to detail as far as making this as fans, as diehards? Do you think that was also a challenge, trying to get every nook and cranny, so to speak, of like making sure all the details are right, for whether it's the outfits to wardrobe, obviously, to the little props? Like, did you guys find that more of a challenge too? Because obviously I'm sure you got a little bit of like people complaining about the shotgun barrel being too long in the teaser, and like little things. And then so when you enter this project, you're like, okay, now when we're filming, like, is that something you guys just kept thinking about? Like, okay, how can we like we don't want to make it too different. We don't want to get that backlash.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the important thing going through it, is regardless of, the challenges, like what's the point of making this, authentic, faithful, version of the Keeper's Diary if it's not faithful, if it's not authentic, if we don't have these things. And there was times where we get parts of the set in, Andrew would say like, this got to be a little bit different this way, or will you do this? And somebody would say like, this would look better with this. And it was like constantly through the entire shoot, it was like all the little details had to be just right, because we're trying to tell the story of something that is very ingrained in our memories. They didn't have the story, but they had the diary, and you envision it, and we wanted to make it that, but live action. You know what I mean? So I think through and through, everybody, all the Resident Evil fans that were here, that were part of the production, we're looking out for little things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
And kind of like revisiting details of looking at the residents. How does like this like kind of little house look with posters, other paraphernalia lying around, poker scene? Like, how can everything here resemble accurately what we kind of get from the vibes in the game? Earlier you asked the question about challenges, but what was pretty astonishing to me was just the willingness of so many folks in that area to let us explore their locations. Like, for example, like for the infirmary, I know we were talking about like which of these would best complement the diary entries that, he's seeing the doctor, which of these is like best fit for that. And pretty much everyone that we went in contact with was willing to let us at least like see it and see if it would be appropriate. And it's kind of like a black box at first when you're like booking locations of like, how long can we be here? Is it going to charge us, or are people going to charge us to be here or use this space?
Right.
What are the logistics around bringing a film crew in here, and maybe potentially an environment that is used to treat patients? And what are all the details around that? And I just found that pretty much everyone that had contacted for that purpose was willing to at least like work with us and hear us out. But it was rather easy to book things, those locations, other services, other certain things. So I was just really pleasantly surprised actually at the lack of challenge with that, because there are a few things that needed to be sorted really close, running up to the time of the shoot week. And we kind of like, I guess it got a little bit lucky in a few areas of just like, oh, during this time of year, can we really get this type of thing for us? And it's like, well, apparently, yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing with here. It's such a small town.
Uh-huh.
Everybody kind
Very
of
friendly.
knows everybody, and everybody's willing to pitch in and help out. Especially something like this. It's so cool. Like this town's not used to having a film. I don't think there's ever been a film, like an actual film here in this town. So like everybody kind of knows everybody. Everybody is really open to helping out. Everybody is excited to see what it's about. And I think that maybe helped a little bit with it, because like there was a lot of little things we need, like tables, chairs. It's like, oh, I know this person who coordinates this event, and you know what I mean. And I think the biggest challenge though for Corey, Bob, and I was to get this office space ready to shoot. We didn't get it, exactly how we wanted, but we were able to get it ready for people to come here, because when we first came to this space, man, it's an old grinding factory.
It was horrific.
No matter how many
I
times
love
you
that.
clean it,
Horrific.
it's not going to clean. It just doesn't clean. And that it was very dilapidated. We had to replace out a lot of the ceiling, redo the floor, rip out the floors, get the walls painted. A lot of it. It's still ongoing. We're still doing it, but it was one of those things where like, man, there's a lot of people coming here, and there's no way like this place is in a condition to have this many.
Right. Yeah, it was.
I'm just glad you guys have a toilet now.
Now we got,
Yeah.
It's the biggest
Yeah,
breakthrough,
absolutely.
definitely.
We got one. Sorry, you guys had to use a porta potty. It's really
Oh.
nice.
I mean,
That process
worked.
too, like I was like, me and Andy were like comparing, contrasting these different like porta potty services to see like which one was appropriate. Like I never thought of doing that anytime soon, but especially not for like a location owned by JJ. So
Yeah.
it was just like double funny. But another thing,
Bag.
what?
I said you did a good job with all the booking of all the different areas.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Absolutely.
It was wild because back to the question about, do you feel pressure about accurately depicting these locations and making the quote unquote right creative choices, which is a little bit of an oxymoron, right? Because when everyone sort of envisions their ideal film adaptation of The Keeper's Diary, we all think of different woods for like the Spencer Mansion. We think of different paint on the walls, maybe similar. And it's really funny because in your brain, this is when I sort of realized this about the process of imagining different props or set pieces when you're planning a film or imagining anything really. I ran into this guy in a store once, and he had like a really red face and he was bald, and I was trying to remember his face because I was writing a story about him. And every time I tried to remember his face, I thought of Hank Schrader. And what that was Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad,
Oh, yeah.
right? And what that was my brain has this close reference to what I thought that man's face appeared like. And it's like, did you mean this, Hank? And I'm like, no, not Hank. And it was like, but Hank. So everyone's brain has these internalized images of what we associate with the Spencer Mansion, of what we associate with a rec room. And everyone will make different creative choices to complement what they've internalized. And Andrew, for example, when we went to the store and looked at different kinds of wood to use, like, would this complement the flooring of the Spencer Mansion? Should it be this shade or this tone? What kind of poster goes here? What kind of paraphernalia actually sits around the keeper's room? And that's what's so beautiful about a process that invokes so much of our unique creative choices, is that Andrew's Keeper's Diary is going to look different from a lot of people's. And it's going to be full of the creative choices made by the folks, particularly that worked on this project. And filling in those gaps, I think that's like what's really beautiful. And not to get too much into AI, but with generative AI, so many of those creative choices would have just been made by a machine. No one would have gone to a store and looked at the type of wood. No one would have compared the images of Resident Evil 1 and the rec room to what we're trying to recreate. So all of those creative inputs would have been vastly reduced, and the process to implement them into the set wouldn't have been learned and implemented. And I think that's just something that, brought this really cool sort of growth spurt, this learning journey out of all of us, sometimes in weird ways of like booking locations, booking porta potties. But even so, it's very just useful things that you sort of don't usually associate with the making of a film. And I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Thankfully, though,
Yeah.
we do get the video game as a reference. And I remember when we were picking out the floor, Andrew, we were constantly looking
Yeah.
at shots from the
Yeah.
game. Like,
Mhm.
this one or this one? And I think it was like that for a lot of different things.
That is kind of funny. We had, because it's like the remake has that small little tiny pre-rendered background photo, and
Yeah.
you're trying to see what the floor looks like when you zoom in on your phone, and then you're looking at a piece of linoleum, and then you're looking at your phone. But yeah, it's an interesting process. I wanted to touch back on the challenges really quick. I keep thinking this in the back of my head, but it felt like while I was making this just during production week, like just during the week we were filming, I felt more like I was trying to keep things moving than I was directing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had everybody was kind of pitching in. Like,
Yeah.
'cause you were.
We were kind of it was like all hands on deck, and like you're assigned to one thing, but not really, kind of assigned to multiple things. Just like we kind of have to all, like, that machine has to keep moving. And we actually, when we started to get more like ahead of schedule, I remember, Andrew, you were in we're in that keeper's room, and you were like, dude, like, I'm actually surprised, like, we're actually moving, like, to where we're not behind. Because you were saying that, like, you were afraid that was going to happen, because it just seemed like, there could have been moments where maybe things were moving a little bit slower, or it took multiple takes for shots, or whatever it would have been. So I remember you were very satisfied at one point as far as, like, not being completely behind, but it definitely was a lot more draining for you, because you were doing everything from driving to set building to, doing just everything else. So yeah, it was definitely a lot, for sure, especially within that week time.
Yeah, it was just very interesting. And I feel like, we were working like 15 to 20 hour days. And
Yep.
I think one night I got 2 hours of sleep.
Oh yeah.
So
there would be nights where I would be so wired, like my brain just couldn't turn off, and I kept thinking,
I took melatonin.
Yeah, I was just like, there was definitely some nights where I was just like, I know, like, my body feels tired, but then my brain is just like holy crap, this is happening. And then, like, it was just, there was a lot of mixed emotions, but very all positive. But it's just like, oh man, like, it's kind of that, like, anxious feeling, like, all right, I got to get back there and, like, try to do the best I can. And it was just kind of like, like, I think when you have even the production team that we had, it's still, we still had a, smaller production, as far as, like, the reason why we had to, have all hands on deck and do multiple tasks, because that's just what you have to do with smaller productions like this. And, it's like, everyone kind of has to pitch in, and just kind of, we're all losing sleep together. We're all, eating the same catered food, and, we're all running off the same energy, basically. So it's just a very bonding experience as well. I think that's another thing. Like, when you all come together to, like, do something like this, and it's, even if the conditions are what they are, like, if certain things don't go the way you think, and then, you're like, all right, let's just do it like this, and then it works out. Like, that's the magic, the magic that comes together, or that came together back there in October. Now it's like we have this finished thing, and it's like, we just did that. Like, that was a thing. Like, holy crap, so yeah, I think it's like all those challenges are a lot more fulfilling when you realize, oh, all right, the finished project is what I want it to be.
Crazy thing is, it was so much work, and there was not much sleep going around. Like you said, everybody was pitching in, offering this or that. Everybody just came together and worked so well together. There's so much, but it was done so fast. Like, it all just flew by. It crazy.
Did.
It was a blur, man. It was an absolute blur, because days blended into each other. I didn't know what, I was just like, holy crap. Like, that's why, like, I think oh my God, like, when we drove, when it was the skeleton crew for the last night, driving 6 hours further into Michigan was crazy. Like, even like Nucci's like, Aunt, like, how are you driving this much? I'm like, dude, I just like driving. Like, I don't like, because 6 hours in the UK, that's different than 6 hours over here in the States.
There is no 6 hours.
There is no 6 hours, right? It doesn't even exist. So yeah, it's like, but I was just like, I could have just been completely zonked. Like, Callie was like, "Are you sure you don't want me to drive?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm ready to go." So there was just something where I just felt like the need to keep trying to push, because I knew that, like, again, we were so close to getting everything in the can, and even though we were driving 6 hours for what, maybe 40 seconds of footage, you know, the way that we were able to make like something like that kennel look was just like phenomenal, even if the haze machine broke towards the end. But you know, things like that happen. But
Yeah.
I think that's part of what kept us just moving, was seeing how well everything was coming together. You know what I mean? Like
the reactions, man, right? Like you guys would be back there looking at the stuff on the screen, and then like, you know, like that was what was, you know, keeping us going. I think, is just being like, oh man, like everyone looking at each other, like that was cool. You know, like those just organic general reactions you get from just everyone, and it's like, you know, that something was done right. So I think that's very fulfilling throughout all the trials that you can go through when making a film, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's as far as like, you know, I think one of the things that, you know, I did enjoy as well, like when we did break away from the set a little bit, like I actually really loved the poker scene, the barn location. That was awesome. That was a really fun night.
Favorite.
Yeah. And just like the laughs that we were getting from Frank and everybody, like that was hilarious. Like that, I just remember all of it. Like, again, there was just like the smell of cigars, the fake cigarette smoke, you know, the fake ciggies mixed with real ones, and just like the boom like mic just reeked of, and the lighting stuff just reeked of just cigarettes, like smoke. Like they probably didn't even really notice by the time we got that back to them. Hopefully not, but that was one of my favorite nights too, because that was just like, all right, we get to break away from the set a little bit, like, you know, change of scenery, and wow, what a location, man. And Nate was awesome. Like he was such a nice dude, like such a genuinely nice guy. So
that was that was really cool, because I've been to the barn. I've been to the barn a few times, but I couldn't make it to that shoot. And I remember getting pictures from you guys and was like, oh, this is looking really good. But that was interesting, because when you're so in it, it's hard to tell, like, is this good? Is this not good? Like, generally, you know if this is good or not. But I couldn't make it to that one. So when I got to watch the footage, I was like, damn, you guys killed it with this. Looks fantastic. And I could actually just appreciate it, because I wasn't there all night doing it. You know what I mean? And that scene really turned out. And yeah, you guys killed it with that.
It's that Martin Scorsese top-down lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was, you know, and again, it was a lot setting a lot of that stuff up to make it look, you know, how we wanted. But man, that was like, how many times they had to do like put the cards down, put the chips in, you know, like it was such a, there's a lot that goes into it. Like there's so many shots. I just remember so many shots just for that. And I was like, but you need it, because you needed all the close-ups, you needed all the, you know, the stuff being laid down on the table. And then obviously you had to, you know, make sure the continuity too. I'm sure, like editing that, Andrew, I wanted to ask you about that, because you have continuity with the cigarette ash, and it turns into like a, you know, a Wendy from The Shining situation or something, you know, you don't know.
Ash it, damn it.
Yeah, ash it already.
So what's funny is I asked my cousin if he wanted a fake cigar or a real cigar. He's like, I want the real cigars. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He was pretty buzzed by the end of it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was vibing with it by the end for sure.
It's definitely that scene. That was like the biggest demand for all of these, like continuity needs to be met, because it was like, oh, you start your drink at a different time than the other person. You smoke your thing at a different time than this person.
Yeah.
Oh, we're starting the scene again. You can't be all the way 3/4 through your cigarette. It's like everything with the
How
cards.
many times Charlie lit that cigarette, you know, like just for the start of that scene.
And it was just like poker rules too, of like, oh, you shouldn't have dealt this to this person at this time.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have burned this. You shouldn't have dealt this. Like just all that. It shouldn't have folded yet.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a nightmare, but it was good that we were all keeping track of those sorts of things. But it's like we did a good enough job with continuity on that specific scene where it wasn't terrible for me to match and line things up. A lot of times it's harder to do, but it's like in editing, it's like putting together, you know, a puzzle. So, yeah, and everybody seems to like my cousin. So.
Oh yeah, no, he was hilarious.
I made that
dude.
really good. Yeah.
He was. I have some funny behind the scenes of just everyone just giggling at the stuff he was saying at the table. Yeah, it was just funny. It was, and yeah, it's a really cool location, and everything was pretty. I don't remember it being too far either. Like everything that we found or that you guys were able to get was relatively, close. The furthest we drove was for that, the kennel, but obviously that was the, the closest place that actually would want to, be down with us coming in their space to shoot everything in a kennel, right? So sometimes you have to make those sacrifices of like, all right, it is going to take us, 6.5 hours to drive there, give or take, but it's the one spot that you had that you needed to shoot everything in.
I guess when that was one of the
okay.
like benefits. Sorry, that was like one of the benefits for with this being like a really small town. It was to my surprise too of like when we got there and we found the infirmary and it was like down the street of like the studio. It was like right on the same road. I'm like,
oh yeah,
interesting, wow. And like the other place that we were thinking of using in place of that one was only like 5 minutes from that. And it's just like, yeah, everything's like super close and accessible and people were willing. So
yeah.
great.
Everyone there is like, it's like they're, again, very willing to help each other out. Very like, it's like you walk into a restaurant and everybody looks at you, that's the kind of vibe you get in that town. You're like, wow, this is like, everyone knows Jim Bob and Joey over here, coming to the grocery store every day. No,
yes, JJ.
no, I'm on and JJ. No, and I'm on a daily basis coming into the supermarket, and not like a Walmart. Like this is like an old town supermarket that will easily mistaken Andy and Nuji's accents to be Australian, and it's amazing. I should have kept count how many times it happened, but but yeah, I think the location was, definitely, it kind of just all fell into place, I think, with a lot of that stuff. And I think when it comes to, like, again, going a little bit into some of the challenges we had, I guess, with the last night of the shoot, which, again, I know JJ and Beggy, you weren't there for the Skeleton Crew night, but that was pretty wild because, again, we had the rain, and then we had to cover the equipment, and then on top of that, it was like an all-night shoot. So we essentially get there at like probably like 9 or 10 or something like that, and then they give us like chili, very hospital, we come in, they give us the food, we're like, all right, cool, like they're nice people, but like you're there all night and you're just shooting until literally the sun like is coming up, and you're just getting to the Airbnb, you're just like, I don't even know what day it is anymore. But yeah, that was like, Andrew, if you want to talk about that a little bit, because that definitely was, I think, one of the more challenging nights, because I think a lot of people were starting to get a little like not irritated, but just like very like punchy and like tired, kind of.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it was. It was a tough week. We were.
That was like the last night, so we were just like all that energy was like, this is it,
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of times when these things happen, it's more manageable working hours. I mean, I do hear that they're long hours on sets quite often, but I mean, we were working literally 15, 20-hour days running off of 3 to 5 hours of sleep at any given time for a full week. And it was like hard labor, hurry up and go, shoot, move, do this. And then, like you said, that last day, I think we kind of all got up at a more manageable time, like maybe 8 o'clock. And we drove straight down, what was it, like Lapeer, Michigan area. And it was like, what, a 6-hour drive. And we just filmed all night. So it's like, it was like a full... We just didn't sleep. It was just a full.
It was a full day's shoot, but done at night, basically, with like essentially no, like we took like a little break, but not really. I mean, like I remember just like going out because Callie was sleeping in the car because she was just like, you guys are still doing your thing. She was sleeping in the car. I remember Andy was taking a nap in the in the van, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so while and again, like we were all just like, everyone was zonked at that point, but we had to push through, and we had little things like just trying to. I think the biggest thing for that night, and I know Andrew, you know this, with the dogs, dealing with that, because it was just trying to get them to react at the same like when you're working with animals, how unpredictable it is, right? I feel like that's like you don't know how long that's going to take. So you're sitting there like, dude, we're already going to be here all night. Like, are these dogs going to do what we want them to? Like, so I think that was a big challenge in and of itself.
Yeah. Riley Seth of Warsong Dobermans, I believe, that they're in Lapeer, Michigan. But yeah, they were a big help. They were all for it. I don't know if she had that much experience like handling dogs for actual film, so I don't think she minded. But I just found it easier for me to just hop in there and
you were in there. You were talking German to them and
yeah.
everything because that's how you have to command them, and it's like that was nuts.
It just seemed easier that way. So I would hop in and sit next to the dog, or one instance we had to be in the far back of the cage, so I was just sitting there with the dog, and then I can't remember what the command was, but I would yell go basically, and the dog would just literally sprint at Charlie and jump on the fence and start barking, and then all of them started barking. And it was weird because it was just so loud and noise, and then I would just say bots, and it was like instant silence.
Yeah.
So no, that was cool being able to handle dogs like that. And ironically enough, when I got back here, I got bit by a dog in an attack suit at work.
All right.
They volunteered me to do that.
That's
it's like
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I had plenty of experience working with dogs in a short amount of time, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, that was really again, yeah, they're really nice there, and like, I think it ended up being pretty cool because like, especially like the part where Charlie first enters and you see like the water on his visor and stuff, like that's like really cool because it was raining. That was all kind of accidental, but it just kind of added to the to the effect of like, all right, yeah, this is like, and like I said, by the end of it, even though we were kind of shooting like two different in the film anyway, it was 2 different days when he comes back, and we didn't have that the haze machine kicking on. That was the only like issue we really had as far as like a technical level, besides obviously just getting the dogs to do what they needed to do. But that was it. I mean, we essentially like while we were breaking that stuff down, like the sun was coming up, and I just remember I pulled into the Airbnb like and it was like 8:30 or 9, because I think even the Airbnb was a little far, but not too bad, and got there at and I was like, we could sleep tomorrow. We don't have to do anything. Like, it felt wrong sleeping in. Like, I remember waking up and I'm like next to Callie. I'm like I wake up like really quick and I'm like, oh wait, no, we're good. Like we're good. Like, it's in the can. It's done. Like,
Yeah.
So I remember that feeling too of just like, oh, like that challenge is we overcame that challenge. But yeah, that was definitely I think by the end of that, yeah, we all slept in. Everybody slept in that day. And then, yeah, we had a nice lunch, and we were able to, chill for a little bit and just kind of like take in what the hell just happened in the last week, which was a nice thing to do as well. And I guess we can ask some of you guys, what are, well, I mean, there was a lot of funny moments on set, but do you guys have a lot of some funny ass things that went down that you guys remember? I think see, that's the thing. There's a couple things I want to say, but I can't say them yet because this is airing before the movie comes out. But let's just say something that, was carried in, I should say. That was a funny thing, to see Corey carry that cage thing, that's all I'm going to say. But that was kind of funny. And yeah, Frank was hilarious.
You got a kick out of me too in that kind of,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was, I mean, between that and like, oh my god, dude, like even some of like Charlie was like literally an angel, man. That guy was so patient, but like his sense of humor is like on point with ours. So like he was just like, he would just say stuff that would just crack me up, man. So yeah, Charlie, God bless him, because seriously, he is like, he's really a blessing to this project, so shout out to Charlie, man, seriously. Because that was bad. Yeah, that was, again, he was in some long, like I said, putting in those days just like how we were, those long days and not very much sleep at all. One of the funniest things was when we had our lighting guy ask for the keys, and he was like, where are the keys to the van? And
a great moment.
I had them like on me, but like I'm in this like closed like room, because they were just like, yeah, like lock the van. So I locked it, and that was basically, he needed to get in there, and we had him screaming and yelling to get the keys. So that was kind of a funny, real Resident Evil moment where he did need the keys immediately. It was an emergency.
I don't think I ever told you, but I think that was my fault because I was trying to get him to fix something with the lighting. And then he needed to get his keys to get in there. But then I found out that I don't think I needed to do what I did. Someone else helped us with it.
Oh.
So he just shouted at you guys for no reason.
Yeah.
I think.
I was like, I'm already in this wall, so I'm just gonna throw this over the set wall, and hopefully it doesn't hit anybody.
Yeah, because you guys were in that part of that set, and he was on the other side, and I was trying to talk to him, and then he shouted,
"Yeah,
you guys have a key." Yeah, yep.
It
was a good moment.
Yeah,
sure.
There's a there's again a lot of just funny little things that happen, and again I think that with all the the challenges and everything that we I think hopefully when fans see this, they will definitely see the passion, and again kind of like what Beggy was saying about that organic process of getting everything together, getting those attention to details, they see that stuff because I think it's really been I know a lot of people are wondering, oh, is it just because I still get these comments sometimes of people thinking that it was going to be longer than just a short film, but I always tell people this is us trying to start something for the future where we can build longer projects as a team, right? So it's I feel like some people that are I think they will be fine with this being a short film, you know what I mean? As it's been talked about. I mean, we weren't like, oh, it's going to be an hour and a half long. We're trying to give this life and just say, hey, look, this is what we can do. And then who knows, what's down the road. But I mean, there's still going to be, some people that are always going to wish it was longer. And there's going to be people that, oh, why isn't her beret like this? And, little things like that. But it's we really haven't gotten too much backlash from what we put out there. And I'm very grateful for that because we've seen all sides of Resident Evil fans having, channels or being in the community. So, how it could be either way. But, everyone's been pretty positive with what they've seen so far. And then the people that we've, shown the film to have, had all good things to say. So I think that's telling because we showed it to some serious Resident Evil fans too, and they're all just like, yeah, this is awesome, guys. So I think that's also a very I guess just it's very satisfying to know that we also are getting other Resident Evil fans excited that have actually seen this thing in full. And obviously Sunday will be the big day. So as far as if we're going to look at the production as a whole, I guess by the end of this thing, as far as when we were able to finally say, okay, this thing is done and we're wrapping up the production, what was, I guess individually, all you guys can go whoever first, but the biggest thing that we individually learned from this production overall, the one crucial thing that you're just I'm going to apply this the next time, or the one thing, whether it could have been in the editing process for Andrew, it could have been in the planning process for Beggy or JJ, what was the one thing that was all right, this is what I'm taking away from this, besides the positive, energy and the teamwork side of things?
For me, it was, with the perks, I think next time we're definitely going to do a fulfillment service because it's going to be a nightmare. We're getting ready to dish all those out, but it's very much I can print a batch full of posters, but I'm going to have to send every single thing out individually to 700 and some people. That's after Charlie comes here and signs everything.
Yeah.
So that and I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff I could do different next time, but that's one that sticks out in my mind.
Just perks
For me,
all around. Okay.
Yeah, I heard Andy and Andrew talk about that before, of just everything that needs to be done on an individual basis in that regard. So that's definitely something. But for me, it's difficult to find just one because I feel like I did so many like odd jobs and kind of like
Right.
scattered things. Like Rob, as soon as I showed up, showed me how to use like power tools. He was like, "This is how you build a doorknob. This is how you do this. This is how you do that." It was like really fascinating, but there's a lot to take away there. There's a lot to take away with learning how to sound record the first time, operating like a boom mic, using different like equipment related to that, pieces with booking different services, different like people, hair people, just basic stuff like that. It's very simple work, but it's kind of like understanding how to get people to be willing to, work with you on whatever service it may be. It might be a location, or it could be someone's hair, or it could be something else. But just all that and learning to like take initiative on that front. Yeah, there were just so many things. There's a lot in regard as well to just constantly looking at like each set and think about like what else could be added to establish a unique identity to this film adaptation of this specific room. When people think of The Keeper's Diary and they try to visualize the scene, pizza, do they put pizza in there or do they put other things in there? Like it's kind of that process of just Andrew, as you were saying before, with people who want a longer film, who want a shorter film, whatever they desire. Andrew had a very extensive pre-visualization process. He had folks sort of like film the most crucial scenes with like more actors in them beforehand, animatic. So all of that was like very readily available. I think that made it really easy to visualize what every single particular shot will be. And, sometimes I think one other thing that everyone can take away, especially obviously the director, especially Andrew, but if you're going to allocate 20 minutes per shot, which ones are going to go over, how can we anticipate which ones will take more time than we thought we'd have to allocate? Because some of them will take under 20 minutes per shot, and then other ones will take like, I don't know how long, like so much time, because something will be unpredictable. There's an animal involved. There's there's the weather.
Hey.
So
My cousin is not an animal, all right?
Yeah, it's like things that you never, like I think same thing like when we were, trying to look at some shots or trying to wonder like what, lens we should use or attach to the camera, and then, seeing Andrew and Nuji work off of each other as well was a cool thing to see, and then being able to understand a little bit more, because I was a camera assistant for people that are listening or watching that don't know, so I was able to work under Nuji and also like do the slate and everything as well. And yeah, just trying to keep track and like, I think the previs like literally was a godsend as far as being able to like, shout out to Lewis, man. I mean, seriously, because that really helped. I mean, just being able to have like just on our phone, everything was right there, and we were able to kind of line everything up and keep track to make sure we weren't missing anything. On top of that, yeah, that was, some of that stuff again. Yeah. Like you were saying, Beggy, it takes a little bit sometimes like to, line everything up. But yeah, once things started to move and we were able to kind of, be ahead of schedule and everything started to flow by the time we were like, couple days in, we were just moving. We just kept moving, sets kept getting built, and we just kept filming, and that was it was definitely, again, like it really did seem like a blur by the end of it. You're just like, wow, like all the days kind of blended together, and then it was like I think the last night we were in Chicago, and we didn't get Chicago pizza, but then we got the what was it? It was the other style.
Rosati's?
Yeah.
Yeah, like thin
Rosati's.
crust Rosati's. Yeah.
So that was fun too. So yeah, I was able to drive a little bit through Chicago and see that. And that was on my way back essentially. So once they had to drop off the grip truck and everything, but yeah, it was just like a crazy week of driving, and I don't think I've ever driven that much in a week on top of filming. So I was like, I definitely think I just like was dead for a week. Like, how did you guys react after when you were done? Were you guys just like, I am
flew
done?
back home and I slept.
You just, that's it. You're just like, dude, I am watching the inside of my eyelids, and that's it. Like, Like, no, don't talk to me, don't text me, I'm sleeping.
I think you did. You took some time to just hibernate, to just go away from everything. It
Yeah.
was not much time, but I remember you did take some time. You're like, guys, just give me a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll be back.
yeah. It's like, you know, and then there was, I think there was like, yeah, it was nice too, like, because I think that the one last night where we were out by the trailer and everything, and it was like that was a nice night too. I think that was a day after our kennel shoot, and that was a nice, like, just kind of like relax kind of day. But yeah, still you're not getting a lot of, like, we slept in a little bit, but your body still isn't caught up with everything you've done. You know what I mean? So yeah, trying to get home. On the way back home, it seemed like that drive was a lot longer because you're just like, oh, dude, I just miss my bed.
The one thing that I learned from all this, number one, we need to make more of these because that was a lot of fun. I loved every bit of it, even all the work. But number two, we got to give ourselves more time. You got to get sleep. You got to get sleep. You got to have the time. You got to stretch it out a little bit. Give yourselves a little time. It was fine because we were all, on cloud nine, going off the hype, getting it done.
Sure.
It was a lot of fun. It was exciting. But, like going forward with these shoots now after doing it, like I think we all need a little more time, and get your sleep, maybe not have to, haul ass and drive all, here and there and here, I think that would greatly benefit a next project if we ever did a next project.
It yeah, and having just more hands on deck so other things can get done while other team members are moving around over here. This other stuff's getting done, so it all, you got to start somewhere, right? So I think this was like a good challenge for us to overcome, and now we're like, okay, now we just apply everything we learned for the next time, so I think that's definitely a good point, and it was, again, like the process too, like I think everybody, I know everybody was kind of waiting for a release date at some point, right? And so it was in a process of editing and going back and forth. So I want to, I know Andrew's chowing down pizza time, Tobey Maguire style, but
I'm gonna talk while I'm chewing my food.
But it's the editing process, because I know that was definitely a tedious one for you. I think anybody if you ever had to edit a film or something like this size, it's definitely a big task. So this one's mostly for you, Andrew. But if you want to finish your slice, you can. It's all good. What was the challenge in the editing room? Because I didn't really get a chance. I mean, I obviously saw the stuff in the chat that we would talk about, but like offset, what was what was something that you kind of had to keep going back and forth on, or was it like I mean, I'm sure there was a dozens and dozens of things, because you're looking at it in a way where you're like, okay, can I try it this way? Can I try it that way? But what was that? I guess the initial. I don't want to say you hit a wall, but what was the biggest challenge in the editing room when you were cutting it?
Probably the visual effects. Anything CGI, or if it required roto painting, compositing, chroma key, rotoscope. Definitely, I feel like the chroma key roto painting side of things was a lot better. Because my buddy that was doing that, Steven Spady, I've known him since college. He works for a company called Zero VFX, very famous VFX company. So he's had experience. He was able to, pretty fast. Lewis was very much learning on the fly. So it was just taking a little time for the VFX, because I think we said it was going to be done by end of Q1.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously didn't happen, but I was more concerned about making it look right than getting it out.
Sure.
Deadline. What does it really matter if it's Q1 or Q2? Like,
exactly.
It's not a big deal.
Especially if it's for the ages.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Lewis did a fantastic job. I think he really did learn a lot in the VFX field, especially CGI side of things. I think his background is more like making fun, like more video game type stuff on the side, and he had no experience with actually placing things in a live action shot or lighting or, an animation. So, it was a real challenge for him, and it was well worth the wait for him to be able to do everything that he did. And once everyone sees this, I mean, I can't even tell you how many comments I've gotten on the Hunter.
Yeah.
So,
Man,
yeah,
And
definitely,
we are doing it
definitely
first
VFX.
before
Yeah.
these
Hunter!
other momos around here, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I think, like you said, man, it's like, yeah, like why rush it, or why cut corners when this is, this is out there for forever. Once this is out there, and it's like, we wanted to, people thought it was not happening at one point. It's just like, dude, like, we're trying small. Oh, it's happening. It's coming out Sunday, man. I mean, this is it. It's like we're literally here, and it really is like, yeah. Sometimes you gotta, slow and steady wins the race, right? I mean, this isn't something we're trying to just turn out by the end of last year. We filmed it in October. Like, no, we took time to, let it sink in for Andrew to look at all the footage, see what he wanted to do with it, try different things, get feedback. Like, you were very patient in that respect, Andrew, as far as like actually getting a lot of notes, trying to make everybody like okay with the stuff. I mean, that is a lot, man. I mean, I can't even imagine. I've never really been in that position where like everyone's been like messaging me like, oh, change this, change that, or like, maybe if you do this, could you try that? Like, that is a lot to take. So
like every day for months on end, from so many people about so many different pieces of the project, VFX, that, everything. Yeah.
Not even what we were saying to Andrew though. Andrew's super particular, and it shows, and it's a good thing. And it's crazy because the early cut of the Keeper's Diary looked great. I was like, man, how could it look better than this? And that we given Andrew his time to be picky, which was good, and the animators and all the editing, it looks crazy different than our early cuts, which we knew it would, but like that time, that added weight was well worth it.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy now when you watch it. Like, some of those shots, like, we're a small fan film, right? A small project, right? In comparison, that's like movie level quality. Like big budget movie level quality in that short fan film.
Yeah.
And it was just because of, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it right, because we only get one shot to do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it's so crucial. Because go ahead.
I was gonna say, I really hope people start calling Lewis after this.
I hope so, man, because that was literally, that was, man, like seeing the final work that he did was, like JJ said, man, like, because the first cut we saw didn't have that stuff in it, obviously, because it was still being worked on, and then when you see that, you're just like, wow, okay, so this is why we went with this guy. I see that, you know what I mean? Because also he's a fan too, so that's the thing. It's like he just loves it. So to be able to work on it, I think that's like you said. Hopefully, a lot more people call him to be like, "Yo, that shit looked fire." So that was I mean, I definitely could see that being the biggest, I guess, like hurdle to get over is making sure all that looked good in that editing process. And again, like people that were patiently waiting, we thank you guys for waiting, but just know that the wait will be worth it. That's really what we want people to walk away from, and saying, you know what, everyone that backed it was worth their investment, and more, like it shows that it wasn't just, and again, I also can't not shout out, Nuji as well for being, an amazing cinematographer here. This is, I mean, as far as the aesthetic, man, between everything we pulled off with the sets, like he got those shots down, and his inspiration for the color correcting was immediately Remake. That's really what he wanted to kind of capture, and I think he did that beautifully. I mean, I was watching it on my like 4K TV, and I was just like, this looks crazy. I mean, I don't know, it just blew my mind, because I was seeing the shots on the monitor there, and again, like, you're seeing it raw, but
that still looked good. Really good.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, that camera was no joke. I mean, these lenses that I was handling were like,
know how to operate a camera like that. That camera was crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So definitely have to shout out him for that.
His cinematography, absolutely beautiful. He shot on a red.
So Komodo, yes. I think I still have it written in here too, yeah. Red Komodo, yep.
I don't remember the brand of lenses, but they were anamorphic lenses. and he rented a specific filter for the lens. I don't know if it was for front or the back of the lens. I don't know how it works with anamorphic, but it was a black Pro Mist filter, and he said that filter is really what's going to make it mimic the colors from the game, aside from what he did in post with coloring
Right.
the film, which looks amazing.
And also, yeah, that was also just such a massive point of transformation from the rough cut of The Keeper's Diary to what it is now, because before you have all these different tones and different scenes that like they're as cohesive as you could be with just the raw shooting and the anamorphic lens, but like when you see it with the color grading, everything starts to fit together and feels like, a more cohesive story. So it's very good.
Yeah, it's that was I've never seen a camera like that in action, so that was definitely and it was great to learn about, handling everything and learn about, like Andrew mentioned, the filters and everything of like why we're applying what we're doing, and also like just the lighting and how important that is. Like we go back to like, just what you take away from it, the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, like not only the teamwork aspect of it, but also just like how important lighting is for a project is like insane, especially when you're filming a Resident Evil, film. It's like, yeah, we are trying to, make sure and that's one thing I liked about with Nuji and Josh, and obviously Andrew as well, like trying to communicate with him, like listen, like he was our lighting guy, Josh, and yeah, he did a really good job. I mean, honestly, like, he took direction very well, and you have to make it, again, look a specific way for RE. So you really had to make sure that, everything was spot on. And then when we stopped moving when we started to move from the set and we had to like reset up the lights again, then you're dealing with, okay, you're not just dealing with the same overhead lights on the set. Now we're moving. So you got to break everything down, move stuff over to the lab. And like the way we were able to kind of transition those lights around, or the way he was able to do it too, but also kind of get input from you guys, like that was done so seamlessly. Because I was even thinking, man, like how are we gonna do this in a timely fashion with like breaking the stuff down? But like it moved pretty well once we had everything moving and we had all the cables ran and the power and everything. So yeah, that was another thing that I took away from it, is not only so much of doing the first AC job, but also just like, yeah, how important the lighting is and just like the different nuances, especially when you're trying to pay attention to the close detail when you're doing something that's inspired by Resident Evil. You got to pay attention to those details, because those fans, they will look for those details. So I think that's one thing we always kept in mind, like we were saying earlier, like we just kept like talking about it or making sure that it wasn't going too far over or or under. So it was it was very cool to see it all pieced together. And yeah, like seeing that final cut, man, that was, man, it's just amazing, the progress. So yeah, I'm sure that the cutting process for Andrew definitely hopefully it didn't take too many years off your life, Andrew, because we need you around longer. So
I'll find out soon enough.
Or the warehouse, what it did to us, we don't know.
Yeah, some of that old asbestos.
Yeah. We just
Hell yeah, I'm breathing it right now, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you actually in that warehouse? Are you in there?
Yeah, I'm in the office area.
Okay.
We turned to the roast studio now.
Nice.
It's come a little ways.
I saw some of the update pictures you put in one of the group chats, I think, when you were doing it. And yeah, man, it looks like it's coming together. That's cool. You were able to, obviously stuff like that takes time, but that's cool that you're still kind of, able to revive that space a little bit from what it was.
Every once in a while, I'll go.
Dude, it's night and day.
Roll around in all that iron just to relive it, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm back filming The Keeper's Diary.
Yeah. It's funny. Oh, what were you saying?
It's amazing. It's amazing what you guys did with that.
Oh, I know. It's unrecognizable.
Like the way we got it now, I wish we could have got it done in time for The Keeper's Diary. I'm pretty happy with what we did get done. It's just it would have been nice to have it like where it's at now. Like now,
I know.
When you come in here, it's not just like, okay, this is a space I can use. It's actually like
it's a cozy hangout place.
Yeah, it's a cozy hangout now, and it's like, man, that's what we were trying to do. We just didn't realize with the limited time we had how much work we needed to do to get it here. But you know what? All that dirt and all that cold and all that whatever, it made us stronger, guys.
It did, and bonded us as a team. So
yeah,
because that was again, like seeing the difference in how we were able to kind of efficiently get through each day. Once the sets were up and ready to go, I mean, it was like, and especially like, how, I don't want to give too much away, but how just also the lab looked, like that was awesome, man. I mean, that was so cool. And, we had like, the obvious, like, the painting and everything's like making it look dirty, making it look like a certain aesthetic. Like that was just such a cool thing, because we were in, like I said earlier, we were kind of in one spot filming, in the keeper's room and everything. And so I like saw glimpses. I would poke my head in and be like, oh, that's cool. This is getting done. That looks awesome. But then when I remember seeing it like for the first time finished, I was like, dude, like that was cool. So yeah, the lab is also a very, I remember just seeing that for the first time. Yeah, that was very memorable to see that just all done. And I was just like, we're going to be doing, because I knew what we were going to be doing in that room. And I was like, okay, like this is ready to go. So, what's up?
I'm sorry. One thing I was going to say to that lab that I really appreciate, a lot of like the newer remake games, they make the labs very pristine and clean. One thing I really liked about the original Resident Evil in the lab, it was very dirty. It felt like you were in an area you shouldn't be, and they're doing stuff down here they shouldn't do. And then they remade the game, and it was even dirtier, and dustier.
Yeah.
And now seeing the lab out there, it's like, okay, it's that laboratory that there's people down here doing things they shouldn't be doing. It's not clean. It's very hidden away. And once you see that in the film, though, it even sells it more. It looks it like, one thing I was just very happy about is it nails the Resident Evil 1 and the Resident Evil 1 remake lab, the aesthetic of it. And I think that's big, man. I like that. I don't like everything being like perfectly new and clean.
Yeah.
Get a little bit on it.
It wasn't a Nest vibe. It was old school, and I like that. And of course, we had to, throw in where did you end up finding that old computer? Who found that?
All the props,
PC, bro.
Huh? It's your streaming PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's funny is every single set piece and stuff, I had my mom buy off of Facebook Market, bring it up with her.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
the paintings, all the lamps,
the cupboard,
and
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the cupboard was local to the town, but like the books and all that, and the mirror.
Those are so cool.
Yeah,
like miniature Lovecraft story.
Yeah, I would have my mom run and hey, can you go pick this up? It's only a half hour away from you. She came up with the whole thing.
And they're all the things she got like are perfect. Like, shout out to your mom for getting
so
all that.
fitting.
Yeah, and the fact that you could find so much crazy stuff for cheap on Facebook Marketplace, or like stuff like that where people just want to get rid of it, like that's where you find some good stuff. Especially if you're trying to find like stuff that people don't know what they have, or in this case props. I mean, no one really wants to hang on to an old computer like that.
In this genre, it's very valuable to us. It's like,
yes, we're like, we need that umbrella computer. We need, please.
You would be surprised how expensive those things are.
A lot of people like to run. Yeah, they like to run like games on it natively, like that. They're in demand, because people like to boot up a Windows 95 or 98 computer and put in a Resident Evil 1 PC disc and play it. And that's a thing now. And it's just kind of like how the CRTs are in demand. You know what I mean? I held on to my old 12-inch CRT TVs and everything. So it's kind of nuts how a lot of that stuff comes back or just gets more valuable. Like we already see that with the RE like collectibles, but man, like just anything vintage, computer vintage, it's just like a time capsule. So people want to remember it like that, Yeah. And here we are, using it for Umbrella's plans. So, but
I'm gonna go download my Resident Evil Classic collection out on that bad boy. And
right.
I'm just gonna straight from there.
Exactly. Yeah. What? Why?
You probably could.
Yeah. Honestly.
Probably could.
Yeah.
Probably could.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was the lab was killer, and I can't wait for everyone to see what goes down in the lab. We can't really talk about it here because we don't want to give stuff away, but rest assured that it's going to be dope. But yeah, I mean, JJ, I want to talk to you for a sec because I mean, dude, the last time you were on this show was when RE7 demo was out, and I think Residents of Evil had 2,000, 3,000 subscribers.
Holy crap! That long ago?
It was a long time ago.
I knew
So
it was a while ago. I didn't realize
yeah,
it was that
long,
long
like
ago.
you like just started that channel, and we were talking about the RE7 demo, and how we felt about it, and is this the right move? And so the last time you were on here, Resident Evil was in a different spot because it was just trying to climb out of those dark days that we referenced them as, right? So as far as like obviously your channel's come a long way, and I just wanted to ask you, like, what has been, your biggest, I guess, like, I guess, I don't know, I guess accomplishment through, like, getting, whether it's this film or getting everyone together, like, what has been through the years, because it's really been, like, a long time since you've been on here, like, what has been, as far as, like, driving all of the, the new Resident Evil stuff. It's crazy to see where it is now. So, yeah, like, how through the years, like, you've been able to, cover all these Resident Evil titles, cover everything, live stream stuff. It's just like, it's nuts to see it in a peak that it is now, where back then it didn't seem like, we were kind of like, it could have been doom and gloom after RE6. So, what was the biggest thing that you were able to kind of, I guess, like, learn and achieve just through growing your channel in this process? Because now you have a team. Like, when I had you on, there wasn't, I think it was just you on Residence of Evil back then. You know what I mean? So I guess just where, what the hell's been going on? That's basically what I wanted to say, because it's been a minute,
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for so many things, so many amazing things that I never could have dreamed about happening. Number one, just finding the community. At the time, I didn't realize how large this community was, man. And that's the thing. The series has kind of shifted. I remember being on your podcast when we were talking before Resident Evil 7, where it was those doom and gloom days.
Yeah.
And just, things have gotten better since then, thankfully. But honestly, the greatest achievement is just all the people we've met, bringing the team together, being able to do amazing projects like The Keeper's Diary. I mean, bringing everybody together to do that, and then actually getting to do that, and then to have you here. So I did tell you this when you were here, which was really wild.
Yeah.
I used to work at this place years and years ago. I would clean up at night, so I would be here all night, and to pass time, I would listen to the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast. That's where I first messaged you from, because I used to listen to that.
Yep.
And I remember saying that I went over it on my, I had overage charges because I would listen to it so much, and I had to pay for it. But I liked it so much that, that I reached out to you. You brought me on the podcast. And it was just so crazy. Now, years later, I used to listen to your podcast, and now you're here at the same building where I used to listen to, and we're working on a movie together. Like,
Absolutely.
It's just wild things like that continuously happen. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly grateful for the community, incredibly grateful for the team, getting to, hang out with Charlie. That's so cool, man. There's way too much I'm grateful for, but I just love, I love this community. I love the series, and I just love having moments like this where we can all come together and make something incredible that so many other people are going to enjoy.
Yeah, very well said, man. Yeah, because it is kind of nuts to think, like back in 2012, like after RE6, we were just like, man, like what is going on, and that's when I did the first episode of the podcast was me and Richard talking about RE6, when we were just like, I don't know what the hell that was. And then, nowadays people like RE6, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's in the water in some places, but it's okay. People like RE6, to each their own. But I'm like, I went back and obviously revisited it years later, and then I was just like, it's still, it's still a thing. It's a game.
Yeah.
It ain't a Resident Evil game. It doesn't feel like a Resident Evil game in certain aspects. It just feels more over compacted in. But I think, you see something like Resident Evil come back full swing, and fans get excited. And I think when you were listening to the show early on, and you were a part of the RE2 remake fan page, when it was just a fan page, it was just a thought. It was just a hope for fans to see a remake of Resident Evil 2 in a potential fixed camera angle style, because that's what people were wanting back then. They saw remake, they wanted RE2, but like remake from 2002. And seeing that too was very funny, because a lot of fans were just like, when are they gonna, and then they did the whole "we do it" thing, and the rest is history. But it is crazy that it seems like it seems like such a short time ago, but it really has been such a long time since we've seen, like just that era of Resident Evil kind of come back and spring back into the mainstream and people buying it and the sales records and everything. So yeah, we really are in a new era of RE, and especially Capcom overall, because Capcom as a whole wasn't doing very well in that era. If you look at Street Fighter, if you look at, Monster Hunter was taking a lull during that time as well, and RE obviously was trying to figure stuff out. We had rumors back then that like Alice was going to be in the games. Like there was like open world Resident Evil actually wasn't just coming around with the recent rumors. That was talked about in 2013, early 2013. I think you might remember that, JJ.
Crazy.
That was
the history repeats.
Yeah, right. It's kind of funny to see the different like theories or different speculation that kind of goes on, but also like once we started to get the line of remakes, it ended up becoming more of like, all right, now they're kind of getting their foot in the door with these kind of revisiting those memories that we remember in Raccoon City, now just with the RE engine, and now we're facing down the Rex engine for the next line of stuff. But Andrew, you're here. I got to talk about Dino Crisis, dude. What are your thoughts on the Dino Crisis response on this Capcom survey? Like, did you see any of that?
I saw the survey. I didn't see the results. What's up with Dino Crisis?
Dino Crisis, I mean, it's essentially the highest voted game out of, I think, 240,000 voters for Capcom. Dino Crisis is the number one game they want to see come back. And it's on their radar now, man. And Regina beat out Claire Redfield for their favorite top.
Dino Crisis remake, Exoprimal.
Oh right, yeah, right. The chick with the red hair, that was Regina. Yeah, no. Yeah, like that's like that's one of those things like that I think Dino Crisis is bound to happen, but yeah, it's just funny to see. Like it almost seemed like people were making alt accounts, but like, and I wasn't trying to say that to be like a dick in the video. I was just like, this doesn't seem real. Like this many people are interested in Dino Crisis. It's cool, but I was just like, why now? Like this survey just gets blown up with Dino Crisis. Like, but I'm happy though, because I think it's appropriate time to bring it back. I mean, I think we all agree here, right? Like bring back Dino Crisis already, just not 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I hope they do. Hopefully the survey. It seems like Capcom tends to respond to fans in a good, positive way.
They do have their communication with fans pretty open. Yeah.
I mean, everybody was asking for an RE2 remake, and we do it. So hopefully we do it again.
With dinos.
With dinos. I keep hearing that they just don't care about Dino Crisis anymore. So maybe this will change their minds. I have no idea. So hopefully they don't remake it and it becomes so popular to the point where they sell their film rights and some asshole makes a shitty Dino Crisis movie for 28 years.
That's Andrew's hell.
Hopefully not.
No.
The ultimate hell. And it's funny too, because when I downloaded, so they have like the PDFs on the survey, and you can see what every game that was like, put in there for like they want to see come back or what was their favorite. And I think someone said that, because I missed it on my video, someone actually, I think it was like 40 or 50 people, I might be wrong, maybe it was 100, were saying they wanted, or it was like, what's your favorite Capcom game overall? Like, period, what's your favorite Capcom game? And like, there was like, you scroll down, and there's like 100-something people that put Dino Crisis 3, and I swear that they're trolls. There's no way that is accurate. Like, that people actually want Dino Crisis, or like Dino Crisis 3 enough to say it's their favorite.
That's a rhetorical question. I mean, the obvious answer is Resident Evil 2 1998. Why would they even ask that?
I mean, I don't know. To be honest with you, some of the results had me scratching my head. I was like, out of all the Capcom games, these are the results. But I mean, I guess the surveys don't lie, so I don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because a lot of people have been talking about that. And
I hope so. That would be. I mean, if they remake that game as good as they do with the Resident Evil remakes, excluding 3. It could be a good game. Could be a good game.
Yeah. No, people still talk about RE3 Remake to this day. And I know, it's my favorite game of all time, the original RE3. And seeing, I still like RE3 Remake, but I definitely acknowledge that, it's not anywhere near it should have been, as far as like, it needed the clock tower, it needed Type 2 Nemesis as he originally looked. And I think, I'll never get let loose from that, because around the time, like I was saying, I still, like it, but people still give me crap about it, but it's all right. It's all good. We got RE4, so now people can act like RE3 didn't happen, and it's all good. Even though I still think RE3 never got a fair shot, even the original, it always gets crapped on. People like it, but it never got a fair chance. People were like, oh, it's supposed to be a spin-off, man, and then the remake comes out, and then it's given to this B team, and it's like, oh, why RE3? Why did that have to be the one? Like, that
was weird.
It's like the games progressively got better, even though Resident Evil 2 is my favorite game of all time.
Sure.
But like the mechanics,
Mhm.
the enemy count, one of Resident Evil's main elements, the tension,
yes,
the puzzles, all of it. It's like it progressively got better to the point where 3 was like all that they've learned from 1 and 2.
Yeah, the branching paths and they have this gunpowder mechanic where you have this player agency attached to like what kind of ammo and guns that you actually want to use and which ones you don't. There's so much in 3. It's so good.
And yeah, man. All right, I'll move on.
One thing I did like about the Resident Evil 3 remake, and I don't think JJ liked this, but I liked how they showed what happened before she kind of escaped her apartment.
No, I like that.
That to me.
Yes.
Oh, you did like that.
That's
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Character development. I like that a lot.
Brad sliding in the
like-
notes in the pizza box, like trying to secretly talk to her, like because she can't leave. Like, that's funny,
Yeah.
I
That
like,
whole scene when she's on the phone and then all of a sudden, boom, the wall breaks through like that. I was like,
No.
oh shit.
no, when it comes to Nemesis being introduced right there, it was interesting. It was interesting, but it kind of takes away from Brad's character. Brad kind of
He's coming for us. We're both gonna die, and you're like, what is he talking about? Like, you don't. Yeah.
And
A
immediately
little bit
when
more build up.
he kills Brad, and it's like that sets the tone for the rest of the game. That didn't happen, and Nemesis in the remake didn't kill a single STARS member, which means he's kind of useless.
Yeah, he didn't kill Brad in the remake, did he?
No.
That's right.
It's definitely while I understand what they were doing with that scene with Marvin and everything, just the impact of Brad's death in front of the police station it just hits so much harder.
right.
Yeah.
So much more memorable.
Think about that, Andrew.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, it was cool to see him interact with Marvin.
Yes.
That was
But
good.
it definitely did take that moment away from us with Nemesis. I totally forgot about that.
Let's stop putting salt in the wound, guys, and move on.
It's all
Yeah.
good. I mean, I think, like I said, RE4 for a lot of people, that just, because there was that fear, they originally had it with the same team, then they switched it over, and then people were still assuming that it would be, and again, people still don't like RE4 Remake because of, the cage fight was cut and this was cut, but it's like, dude, I honestly think Separate Ways padded the rest of that story out perfectly. And
Yeah.
I love RE4 Remake, man. So yeah, you're not going to hear those complaints, I don't think, from any of us, because we
No.
we love that remake, man. They really outdid themselves, and it sold like crazy, and it deserved it. So,
I think.
but go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I think the Separate Ways was a proper B scenario. Like it brought back a lot of the stuff people thought were cut, including myself. The gondola area, man, I was so disappointed.
Oh yeah, yep.
The Resident Evil remake, but I was so disappointed. And a few other areas, it brought it back, and not only more, but made a very nice, concise story that really tied up a lot. And it almost makes me think that is a proper B scenario, and it kind of makes me wish that Resident Evil 2 remake, while a fantastic game, I really enjoy it. Their A and B scenarios, like Capcom has come out and said that you kind of pick what your canon is, you don't play them consecutively, like one or the other. It's kind of wish that had a proper B scenario.
I agree.
Forward. Yeah.
I agree, man. I think RE2 Remake gets let off the hook a little bit sometimes when people talk about the scenarios. It's like, dude, the scenarios they don't line up, and it should have. And I think that was definitely that's why RE2 Remake for me, it's an amazing game, but it's not a perfect game, and I still prefer the original 2 over Remake. I know that's gonna get a lot of people upset, but it's all good because to each their own, right? Like I still like playing OG fixed camera angles. I don't care if the graphics look like the way they do. They still look cool in my opinion. I don't mind going back to older games, and I think like the scenario system was definitely. It's almost like they did the scenario system dirty in RE2 Remake, but then also, why was Mr. X more of a pursuer than Nemi was in 3 Remake? Like that shouldn't have been the case. It should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been.
They should have did a little bit more in 3.
Yeah.
The layout design, right? It was a little bit more linear. Yeah, there was areas you could kind of go back
Mhm.
around, but it kept moving. Whereas 2 had like the RPD, the basement,
Right.
not the laboratory. Because the laboratory would take you to another part where you couldn't go back. But between the RPD and the basement, it was the perfect layout for a pursuer to just follow you.
Yeah, and Jill could have went back to the police station like she did in the original. They should have did that and have Nemesis break through the window again. That should have been that should have. But again, can't change it. It's all good. We can, again, look forward to other remakes where hopefully we don't have to worry about too much, cut content. But because of that direct remake is why fans are now always scared of cut content, X, Y, and Z. So it goes with the territory, obviously, but we always try to stay positive, at least on our respective outlets, you know what I mean? So, I'm excited to see what they do next. But, something that other people are doing next that comes out the same, this news comes out the same week that we're, promoting Keeper's Diary and everything. So, we got to bring the mood down a little bit. Sorry, guys. People might tune out. It's okay. We got to talk about this Resident Evil live action and Netflix thing that's going on. What am I reading? What is this? Did we really ask for a Resident Evil 0 film with not only Ada but Billy?
I don't think anybody did.
This is the thing I like the most about that, right? As they promise a faithful adaptation that does the game justice, but then they say that Ada's going to be in it and they're going to establish a bridge between Welcome to Raccoon City, yada yada. The word faithful gets thrown around way too damn much, and I've heard it every single time.
Mhm.
Yes.
And it's just like, you just in this bit here that I've read already tells me that it's not going to be faithful, because you're going to introduce elements from other games into this. You're going to add Ada into this, which she wasn't in Resident Evil 0.
What the fuck was that?
Not faithful. Like, I mean, when
Here's the thing too. It's beyond her not being in Resident Evil 0, right? In Welcome to Raccoon City, she didn't do anything with Leon. She didn't interact with him. She didn't have like a push and pull dynamic. That's why Ada is there. And so this whole dynamic of Ada trying to also be included in Resident Evil 0 when she was only included in the post-credit scene for Welcome to Raccoon City, then you have, 2 pieces of the story where Ada isn't actually complementing the story in its original aspect. So that's like what I don't really understand. It's like if she had more of a place in Welcome to Raccoon City, if she interacted with Leon, if there was that dynamic going on, and him sort of discovering what her true identity was, maybe there would have been somewhat of a place for her, even though she's not in the games. But it's like for them to entertain Ada being in 0 with her not being in the games and her not really playing a prominent role in that movie, then you just wonder, what they're doing. It's a card.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, JJ. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, you know how, like, if you want to take some liberties and change it up a little bit and still be faithful, the best way to do that is like S.D. Perry's novels. Trent was never in the game, but she introduced him in a way where it made sense and it didn't break the overall.
It didn't seem far-fetched. It didn't seem like it was out of nowhere. Yeah. Yeah, it's and like Rebecca isn't mentioned in this, thing that we've been reading about 0. So how are you going to have 0 without Rebecca?
Oh my god! Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't want to sit here and bash a bunch of filmmakers and actors, and because they all work hard. Are they fans of the games like we are? Probably not. Who knows? I don't know. I'm sure these studios just find someone to direct whatever they want to direct.
Yeah, right.
But who was the director of Welcome to Raccoon City? Was his name Johannes Roberts?
Johannes Roberts.
Yeah.
Johannes Roberts. Is he a fan of the game? He might be. I don't know. Is he at liberty to do what he wants, even if he is? Probably not. Does he own the rights? No. That's why.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of good intent with a lot of these people in the creative process. I don't know if there's any good intent stemming down from the top. So unfortunately, it's like it's a hit or miss. Some franchises you have the right people behind the wheel. Some franchises you don't. We were talking about this earlier because I just got out of a thing with the Crimson Head folks, but it's like the Fallout show seems to really be hitting it off well with a lot of fans of that series, and the Last of Us show seems to be really doing really well with fans of that series. So I feel like in that instance, maybe the studios kind of understand, like, hey, this seems to be proving something that can work. Let's hire some filmmakers that might really be interested in doing this and kind of let them have their reign and step back a little bit from the control process. So maybe that doesn't happen so much at Constantine. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't. I personally don't understand how if these rumors are true about these new things, like for people that own these rights, maybe it's Capcom telling Constantine what to do. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you play Resident Evil 0, whatever, and then you like how like the whole itchy tasty scene from Welcome to Raccoon City. It was a sickly woman who was poisoned by water, I believe, in that movie. That was kind of going delirious, and she wrote itchy tasty on a glass screen door. And it was like, how I just don't understand how you play Resident Evil and read The Keeper's Diary, and this is the scene you come up with. Like, how does that make sense to me?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it was a throwaway reference that they just wanted to put in there because they knew fans would be like, "Oh, I think I remember that," and it's like, yikes.
There was a lot of that, a lot of pandering in Welcome to Raccoon City, and I don't mean to shit on it for anybody that likes it. I'm happy. I know a lot of people that like it, people that I'm friends
Right.
with, and that's
Right.
great. It's just there was a lot of pandering to the point where it was just because it was in the game and it's a thing people know doesn't mean you can use it any way you kind of feel. Like for example, the doll. They just kept focusing on that doll. It's like, yeah, that doll was a thing for a little bit. People thought it was a creepy doll, but like it just keeps showing this doll. The itchy tasty where she got in his face and she's like, itchy tasty, itchy tasty. It's like there was so much more behind that itchy tasty reference than just you continuing to say it and write it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, it's a bit offensive, you know?
Yeah. Why does RE0 get its own movie, but RE1 and 2 can't? They got to split them in between. What is that?
Not only that,
it just doesn't.
3 ain't happening. They just completely retcon 3. That's gone.
Oh, dude! By the time I saw that cow in the flying, and I was like, you know what?
I was checked out, bro.
I was checked out, man. Honestly, that's the best way to say I was just checked the F out. You know.
Yeah. I was talking about this earlier too with the Crimson Head folks. I was making a lot of Star Wars comparisons because of what's going on with the Star Wars franchise today, but it's like I honestly don't think there's a lot of people in charge of Star Wars now, Disney Star Wars, that I don't think they probably even know who Joseph Campbell is. I'm sure Dave Filoni does. I'm sure Jon Favreau does, but some of these people in charge of these other shows, like, I doubt they even know who Joseph Campbell is. And it's like, just because you have a lightsaber and you put it in a Star Wars show or a Star Wars movie doesn't make it Star Wars. You can just slap the Star Wars label on it, sure, whatever, but I feel like you really have to understand George Lucas and his inspiration behind Joseph Campbell's works to really kind of dive into the lore of what Star Wars is truly about. And it's the same thing with Resident Evil. It's like, you got to look at Shinji Mikami and all these people he worked with back in the day. Like, his influences were movies like, Night of the Living Dead, The Thing, The Shining. Like, these are all in Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 if you play the games and you look for it. Like, you really have to understand where these people were coming from to get a grasp on what it would be like to adapt it into a different medium. So
Yeah.
you don't see a lot of that nowadays, which is unfortunate.
It's hard because with the show, you see another Marcus daughter, right? You see like Sophia Marcus in this little news that we
That's
have.
the other thing too. Yeah, the
and
show.
there's that insistence of including this character, and that's okay. But when we have this overarching structural sort of difference of having a post-apocalyptic world versus an isolated incident, then we're moving further away from Resident Evil already. Because Resident Evil has always been about an isolated incident with someone with a particular vision, the antagonist trying to either fill some deep void of insecurity, trying to cheat death, revive someone, store their consciousness, something like that. And then there's one instance of someone rising up, maybe an ensemble, to take them down. Maybe it's to create super soldiers, maybe whatever the motivation is. There's an incident that ties people to a location or a small set of locations for one story, essentially. And that could be the RBD for RE2, that like the mansion for RE1 and the rec room, all that kind of stuff. But the show, what they did previously, I did like a whole like hour-long video analysis on it, and the new one, it's like there's this insistence on sort of like exploring all of these different locations very transiently, moving on to the next one, trying to find a cure for a virus, something more generic that is more conducive to like post-apocalyptic storytelling. And that's just not what Resident Evil has ever done, right? Yeah. So trying to in the first show, there was this concept of zeros, and zeros are what they call the zombies. There's this concept of them evolving and becoming something different. So I was thinking, like, are they trying to introduce Crimson Heads? Are they trying to introduce like a level 2 zombie, some kind of like controlled intelligence, you know? And there's a Mother Zero, and she could like command them. And there's there's little plot threads, but there's just not a lot of continuity between them. There's not a lot of connecting these locations and purposes with a figure. They start that in episode 4. There's a figure that's almost like a Wesker type. He wants to cleanse the earth. Yep. He says to rid the apple of the worm, it takes the knife. It sounds like eugenicist worldview of a lot of Resident Evil's villains, Wesker, Spencer, Nicholas Griffith, any one of them, right? And they don't use that character. So they have all of these little bits and pieces that might have potential, and then they veer off track, and it sort of just gets lost. And all of these other generic elements that you would classically see in a post-apocalyptic scenario take place. Like someone just trying to fend for their family or save their child or something simpler, you know? But there's not a lot of tethering the characters and the experiences to a specific location or a specific city in the story of that. There's a lot of jumping around. So
this is a Netflix show?
Yeah, this was the first Netflix show.
Yeah. There's a new Netflix show, Andrew, that's coming out.
And it sounds a lot like it. Yeah.
I've never watched. Look, again, I'm sure the people that made the show had a fun time and worked really hard, and I'm sure there's people out there that like the show. Not one of them. I remember watching some trailers and whatever, and whatever.
I'm just gonna leave. I
watched the first 3 episodes and I was like, you know what? I love Resident Evil. I love this series.
I didn't even make it that far.
Stuff I haven't. Like, and I'm done. I'm checked out, man. Yeah. I only have so much time, and I'm not gonna spend it on something that I either don't like or upsets me. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Damn, that's crazy. Because I sat there and I stayed up like most of the night. I was like watching it and just writing notes. Right, I was like, I gotta just review this, and I'm just sitting here like, what is happening? And then by like I'm not even kidding. I don't know if Andrew or JJ, you know this, but there's a scene where Wesker's clone orders at Olive Garden. He orders breadsticks, and it's a whole product placement thing. Olive Garden, like. We're doing it. Yeah.
I've never seen it. I just saw the trailers.
I've seen it like twice.
I never watched it. I'm sure, like, I like Lance Reddick. I think he's a great actor.
He holds it. He's the best in it. But it's like the material, though.
Yeah, I saw a clip on YouTube where some chick was dancing to like show tunes, and I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, that one.
Dua Lipa or whatever her name is. Yeah,
she was. Beautiful 180.
Yeah.
crazy.
I was like, how is this Resident Evil? I'm sorry, I don't.
And it's funny because Callie saw that scene out of context and she was like, what is this? And I'm like, she's supposed to be controlled. I don't know why we were breaking out into a music number.
Apparently the younger sister like performed brain surgery on her and commanded her to like respond to this device that made her dance to like a tune.
Oh my.
And I was like, I don't know how she got there, but like I kind of started to like Evelyn, right? Like in that show early on.
Right.
But then it's just so much happens. It's like she's trying to command people's attention with joy. And then it's like, this is a cool idea. It's like, if you could entertain this and make it work, like maybe sure, I'll like try to be open to it. It's like you're trying to compete with corporations like Google and Facebook to control people's attention. They can't look away from an image.
Yes.
It's like, all right, sure, I'll entertain that. But then it goes in a weird direction of like she gets obsessed with this tyrant figure, so that Angel Rubio character, he becomes a tyrant, and she wants this tyrant all of a sudden. I'm like, why do you want a tyrant if you're trying to command people's attention? Like, what are you doing? And then she just gets hijacked by the younger sister who becomes like the bigger villain, and it's just like, oh man, like the antagonist is just all over the place.
Yeah,
what is she doing?
Yeah,
and these writers want more money.
Yeah, I apparently, and that's the thing too, man. I think for some reason they have this weird fascination with like this Netflix. Every Netflix series has to be something different, their own telling. But they're gonna, because apparently they're gonna have. Apparently they're shooting this thing in the beginning of next year in South Africa, right? Mm-hmm. They're shooting this thing.
Hold on a second. Didn't the season 1 get canceled? How are they making season 2?
So this is a new one entirely. It's new.
Yeah. It's a new season 1.
The first. Yep.
It's new, but it sounds the same.
Is it the same filmmakers?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know the names attached to it.
But yeah.
Like I think it's really confusing. So it's like Zero is going to be a prequel to Welcome to Raccoon City, where this series is going to be a separate from the Netflix series that got canceled, I think, right?
And have on Rotten Tomatoes.
To do with Netflix series. It's a new thing.
And they're trying to say, we're going to have mutated zombies that can shoot weapons. We're going to have, so they're trying to, are they going to mess with some parasites? Are we going to get some, Las Plagas or Ouroboros stuff going on? Or
who knows? They're just going to convolute everything.
Yep.
Ravaged by the T-virus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Post-apocalyptic.
Again.
Before the Netflix series, haven't we done that before in the Paul Anderson movies? Haven't we done apocalypse?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound.
And it's a T-virus again. This is what I was talking about the other day, is that they're inventing these new scenarios, but they're also not inventing any new bioweapon to accompany those scenarios.
It's just retreading similar shit.
It's retreading the same monsters, but having different characters sort of basically discover different locations in this world and just keep running along until other stuff happens. But there's not a lot of innovation on the bioweapon front itself, and I feel like a story like this would really benefit from that. If they wanted to create something truly new, they would need some strong antagonist with a good motivation for whatever new bioweapon there is.
Stop getting your hopes up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is it's like the history if it shows, because again, I know people, they see, like Andrew said, they see Fallout, they see Last of Us, they see these other things that are, I feel like ever since maybe when the Sonic movie came out, a lot of people were like, oh, this actually wasn't that bad. And they listened to the fans, they changed the design, right? And yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I want to be hopeful because we had, successful video game stuff recently, but for Resident Evil, I never really feel hopeful as far as the live action stuff, just because of how many times we've been burned. And look, if it comes out and, if it's able to hold something to, even like the first Paul Anderson film, if it comes close to that, I would be surprised as far as actually trying to connect, little things here and there. Because even we rewatched the first film while we were it was like the night after the Kennel shoot, and we turned on the first one in the trailer just to watch it. We're like, let's just watch it. We're just like, it's not the worst thing ever. Like the ideas are there. It's just if anything, one in Apocalypse for the Anderson stuff was probably the better, but then Apocalypse got muddied because it became Alice's movie and not Jill's movie, because of course it had to be Alice's movie. Nemesis had to be mad, and it's all just it just fell apart. By the time Extinction and Afterlife came in, it just completely was losing my interest. Extinction, there were some elements that I liked, but it wasn't like the Day of the Dead, like Bub reference, you know,
I
with the
watched those
zombie and
again
stuff.
recently. Yeah.
Oh yeah, incredible. But it's just like the little references that they're trying to show, and again, like JJ said, we've already done the post-apocalyptic stuff. It's just tired. It's just it's tiring. It's
Yeah.
just like we don't really need. Yeah,
It's also just not what Resident Evil has ever done well. Like, look at the series. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, look at what one antagonist tries to do. Look at their vision, and have a bunch of heroes rise up to stop it, right? And it could be strung along longer, but it's just they don't have these central locations that really ground you to the thematic sort of goals of what the virologist wants to do. It's too scattered. That's what happens when it's post-apocalyptic world. You're not telling a story of a bunch of people. You're telling a story of cities and entire
just jumping
countries.
around. Yeah,
You're jumping around, and then there's like these T-virus. There's these old tired monsters, and this old tired idea because it's like T-virus monsters. There's spiders, lickers, like all this stuff that you saw in the Netflix show. Just again. You know, it just feels like if you're gonna do something so spread out, like at least make it a little unique.
yeah.
I mean, us four here have to be pretty grateful of the bad live action properties, though, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been able to do the Keeper's Diary
Yeah.
Biohazard Story.
Exactly.
You know,
Honestly, yeah. It's almost like, you know, everything happens for a reason. It's like we all eventually met up for a reason. We all, you know, bonded over the same stuff that we love for a reason. So it's like it's kind of funny that like, yeah, like sometimes when we just kind of shut out all the outside noise, and then when you bring fans together, they really, you know, bring a lot of these ideas or just scenes or things that like you would think would have already been in some of these movies, and you know, you bring them to life through a fan's vision, and it like hopefully it will show, you know, when this thing drops on Sunday. And you know, we don't have to keep talking about all the negative movie stuff. We'll see when that happens as far as the Constantine films adaptations. But the last thing I wanted to talk about here real quick is let's just talk about this Resident Evil PC stuff, because I think a lot of people have been talking about it a lot. It shadow dropped for one, and so which I think is really dumb. I think if you're going to be building up a Resident Evil PC anything, it should have had proper promotion. People should have been able to get it early to check it out. But now we're here with, you know, GOG dropping Resident Evil, the bundle, on PC. The first time these games have been playable for a long time for anybody with a PC, unless you've been able to jump in with a Biorand or a, you know, Team X seamless project. That's, you know, things that have been around that you can still play to this day that, you know, enable people to play it. But if you just want to turn on your PC and play the games, you can do that now. But a lot of fans are upset, guys, because here's the thing. GOG, they never bring their stuff to Steam, so people are upset about that. And they never bring their ports to consoles, ever. Like ports of an old game. They always just stay on there, right? So I think a lot of people are wondering, is this ever going to come to consoles? And if it does, is it going to be remastered? And I don't think so with the GOG versions. I don't think those specific versions will reach it. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, because obviously I think we all played it or streamed it or did whatever. But 2 and 3 aren't out yet. But Resident Evil 1 is essentially a beat-for-beat 1997 PC port, just compatible with Windows 10 and 11, and it can plug into any controller. There's been a little bugs here and there, so some people are fixing that. They can go into the files, and apparently you can apply the Rebirth package or the you know, the HD textures to this, which is pretty cool.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so people are taking that. I saw you know, a couple people talk about that.
That's kind of embarrassing that a AAA company releases something that hackers and mods have to fix.
Well, it's not a AAA company, GOG. So I do think
Is
a lot
it
of the
Capcom that released
no,
it?
GOG pitched the idea to Capcom.
They partnered with Capcom, yeah.
Even still, it's a
pitch it to
big
them and they said yes, you can port the games to PC. So it was GOG. If it wasn't for GOG, I don't know if Capcom would have said, "Hey, let's do a remastered or a."
I just don't think Capcom cares about any of the old stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
To do anything about it.
That is like, a good point. Yeah.
Even still, whatever GOG, whatever company, it's like you're obviously big enough to do these things, and they're not doing them. Like when that Battlefront 2 came out.
Oh my god.
That was horrific, and it's like, what are you getting paid to do? You know, and you're charging all this money, like, and hackers and modders have already done like a quadruple billion time better job.
And weren't they using modders
you know?
stuff? Wasn't that a thing? They were using modders like files on some of their
Probably.
people went in and saw that on the Battlefront thing. They were like using modders files as well without giving them credit, obviously, because they're like, oh, we could just take this.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think look, for $10 just to be able to play it, that's fine. $25, $26 gets you the whole thing. That's cool to be able to play them. I think if fans don't want to be bothered with like installing files and mods, they just want to sit back and play it, great. But I think most fans, like all of us that have been kind of in the community and know how to run these like mods and stuff, it's cool, but like we've already played a better version of it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not bad, and I think it will make some money for them, but I don't think that people should hold out on seeing this on console, because I just don't think it's happening. They're literally taking the 1997, 98, and 90 or 2001 of like I think the RE2 one came out in 99, the PC port. I think so. Might be wrong about that, but yeah, they're taking the one from 97, 2 from 99, and then 3 from 2001, and just bringing it over. And I still think that's cool for people to play it. However, whether or not PlayStation decides to put the RE2 and RE3 on their store, that's on PlayStation. I think a lot of people like myself would like to see that happen, because to be honest with you, the DuckStation version of, because they basically use DuckStation for their emulators. Let's be honest. That's what they use. And that's what you see on Director's Cut. So essentially the Director's Cut that's on the PlayStation store is behind a subscription paywall, which is stupid, because all the other PS1 games I can buy, except Director's Cut, can't buy Director's Cut. Oh no, you got to pay, because with Sony you got to pay, right? Screw you, Sony. Like, I like Sony, but like, come on, dude. It's called the PlayStation 5 for a reason. They want you to pay $600 for a VR2. They want you to pay, they want you to buy a whole nother console again. So it's like, they got to put 2 and 3 on there, and I think that will hold people over. But I still think this should be everywhere for people to play. Xbox, PlayStation, and it should be, if it was remastered, we would be paying a lot more money. We'd be paying $50, $60. You know what I mean? People wanted Tomb Raider remastered. That's what they wanted from this. They wanted to click a button, have old graphics, have new graphics. That's not what this is. So a lot of people are upset about it. But at the same time, who knows? Like, I do see what Andrew's saying too. I think Capcom is just like, look, guys, we got the remakes. Play them. Like, that's been kind of like their attitude, honestly. It's just like, it seems,
Yeah, I just don't think they care. I mean, I obviously they care about their product, the lore, the story, the characters to a degree, but I think, with corporations, this is the language, So
well, there's a lot of money to be made in a remastered collection. I don't know if they don't see it.
I agree. I just don't think they're interested in going and doing things from the past. Like,
I see that. You're right.
I've seen some cases of it where there's like a good opportunity to, for example, like Onimusha 1 was remastered in time with the Ghost of Tsushima, and it was sort of like promoting a samurai franchise in tandem with like another, and it's like, we have this from the past, so kind of like acknowledging like the right timing to do that. And I was thinking about like, maybe there's like a right time to like console port like classic collection for like Resident Evil. So maybe it's kind of like a thing of, I wonder if it's almost like they have a grasp. This is like thinking like next level, but it's like they have a grasp of how people online in a fan base commonly enjoy these games, so they don't perceive as big of a need for them. It's like, if people want to find a way to play these on PC or whatever, they'll find it, and then if they play it on console, then they'll just like be like the old like sort of collector's editions and like the old like PS1 editions, whatever. So like it's one more thing that like in the future they could use to sort of like stir up the hype in Resident Evil with like releasing that. So
yeah,
it's just a theory though, because I've seen them do it at like opportune moments, but then I've also seen them like skip over stuff.
The Marvel vs. Capcom collection, right? That's coming out, or the Capcom Fighters collection. They're putting that out, but it's not like, remastered. They just basically are just like, here. So it's like they're putting out old stuff again and making it, adding online. No crossplay with that, which is strange, but it's online, and it's just like, so they're digging into the past a little bit, but yeah, like whether or not they would want to hire a team to like remaster it would just print them money. But yeah, I just don't know what their mindset is on that, because yeah, it's really just like you can get them on the PS3, and then obviously there's director's cut on the PS5, but it'd be nice if we had something to be able to just play them on everything, you know? And that's why I think console fans are getting kind of burned right now by the GOG announcement.
That's why it kind of seems like a timing thing too, because they also released the Capcom Beat 'em Up collection, and the Beat 'em Up collection and like the Capcom like fighting collection with like Marvel superheroes and that kind of stuff. It seemed to be in like a state where, this is just like total speculation, but it's just like Street Fighter 6 is doing really well. We have connections to the old Final Fight games, and those were on like Super Nintendo. That's a Capcom franchise, and that world is connected to Street Fighter. So it's like we're tying fans who have experienced Street Fighter 6 to the games that they came from, which are Final Fight, by introducing these collections. So it's like partly that too. And then those same characters would also be in like MVC2 and Marvel superheroes, that kind of stuff. So it's sort of like a network of timing it. Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the remakes are kind of like their bread and butter because it's working and they're doing really well at doing it. But like, how much money did like the Tomb Raider remaster or like the Spyro Reignited trilogy, how much money did that make in comparison to a brand new
It's a good question.
game in a franchise? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, would it be worth it for them to even do it if it's not going to rake in the same amount of money as an RE4 remake? You know, so
Right.
I don't know.
That's a good point, because yeah, if it doesn't sell, then they're like, all right, we just hired this team to do this and we just wasted money, you know. And like you said, they only care about the dollar signs at the end of the day. They are a business. So yeah, it seems like that might be I don't know, you know. I think it's
we're all old now too.
Yeah.
You know, we have families, we have kids, we're not younger, you know, and games are made for younger people. What kind of younger person is going to want to go back and play tank controls with bad graphics?
Right.
You know? That's awesome to us.
Right.
It's true.
I see what you're saying.
Good
Like,
point.
we are the old guard now. Like, we're like, everyone's jumping up and down playing Fortnite Festival, and we're just sitting here like, all right, you know. I love rhythm games, but man, you know, like Fortnite is in right now, and they're that's what people are playing first. Fortnite, Call of Duty, your MLBs, your Maddens every year. Like, that's what the majority of casual people, like if you look up the player base of people that own a PlayStation 5 and people who actually play exclusives, barely. I mean, it's literally just Call of Duty, Fortnite every year. It's just like people play them, but it's just like your regulars are always going to play the more run of the mill stuff. They're not always going back. And for a while, I was always like, man, why is PlayStation neglecting their PS1 catalog? They had such great games on the PS3 store, never made it on the PS4 store because, you know, the person who is in charge of their PR in Japan says nobody wants to play old games. And he said that in 2014. He says, you know, they don't care about, you know, playing the PS1, PS2 games. We want to focus on the new stuff. And then now they're adding PS1 games on the PS5 store and everything. But yeah, it's just like, it's just kind of there. It's not like, because the way I saw it, if I buy the PlayStation 5, it's playing everything. It's the PlayStation. I can play PS1, PS2. Like, that's what people thought. And then they, you know, then people hack the machines and then they're like, oh, you can do this. They just don't want to enable it, you know? So it's just a lot of like back and forth with the companies. But yeah, it's one of those things where it might just be wishful thinking at this point. We'll just be happy with what we got. And guess what? Honestly, guys out there listening or watching, watch a couple YouTube tutorial videos, and I guarantee you it's not that hard to get some of the stuff running. And you'll be able to play it, and it will be awesome. Whether it's the Seamless project or you play it legit on GOG, it's all good. But, like, sometimes I think some people get a little scared when it comes to, like, oh, I got to, like, mess with files and I got to do all that. But, like, as far as, like, just being able to boot it up and play it, you know, it's worth to sometimes learn to how to do it. And it's not even that hard, really. But, you know, it's easy for us to say, right? Like, someone jumping in might not know. But, you know, even if you have, like, if you don't want to do the HD mods, if you just have like even like a crappy laptop, it will run the GOG version. I mean, it doesn't really need much to run. I think it's like 600 megabytes or something. Like it's not even a gig because it had to fit on a disc that wasn't even a gig. It was like the discs back then were, that's what they were. So, yeah, who knows, man? I'm curious to see how well you're right. Like you bring up a good point. Like how well did the Tomb Raider remaster do it, and
I
did it
know.
sell? They made a physical version of that thing in a collector's edition. I was like, they went all in, and they didn't even know if this thing was gonna actually move those units. But
I don't understand. Like, why doesn't Capcom just hire the people that did the HD project? Like, what could it possibly hurt?
that's true.
You know?
That's a good
You
point.
pay these guys a couple thousand, tens of thousands of dollars or whatever, and like, the game is gonna sell for being as old as it is. Like,
Oh yeah.
What could it possibly hurt? I don't understand.
Yeah, it just seems like an obvious choice, But we'll see. I mean, I don't know when 2 and 3 are coming out. We don't have dates yet. Again, the way they went about releasing this is just very odd. Like I woke up and my phone was blowing up. Everybody that I knew. And I was just like, this isn't even a remaster, though. Like, what is this? And then I was like, playing it. I'm like, okay, this is, Jill does the skip-de-loo down the hallway because she skips when she runs. And there's little things that I noticed that only happened 5 times, though. It didn't happen a lot, but I did notice it. So I know that they'll patch those little things. And to be able to just download it anywhere and play it offline and your save syncs up, that's cool. Like, you can officially buy it. You can play it where you want. So that aspect is cool. But as far as fans getting a remaster, I think a lot of the, I think they might have just looked at Tomb Raider and then when they heard the classic collection, they just thought immediately it was going to be like that, which it wasn't. So, but it's all good. Like we said, we know how to actually, run some of these other mods. And I think other people, if they're really that upset by it, they'll either add the HD mod to the GOG version or just download whatever version they want to be able to play it. So, But yeah, not much else is really going on in the world of Resident Evil. We're just kind of waiting. There was a Dead Rising remaster that's happening again, and they changed Frank's face, and they also changed his voice actor, so he sounds horrible. But everything else looks good. The environments look great. I'm actually really excited for Dead Rising. Are you guys down with Dead Rising?
I never
I haven't really played it yet, but
You guys
I've seen
love
footage of it.
Oh
Yeah.
my god!
I know there's a sandwich shop called Jill's Sandwiches.
Absolutely,
or something, right?
yes. And just so you know, it was not inspired by the George Romero Dawn of the. I like how they had to put that on the front old case where it was like, just so you know, it's like, okay, Capcom. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. They're having an event actually in a couple days. That is not showing new Resident Evil stuff, but it's the Dead Rising stuff they're going to be showing. So I'll be streaming that and seeing if they show more of that. But I'm always a big Dead Rising mark. While I never played 3 or 4, I kind of fell off, but I really love 1.
There were sequels?
Yeah.
I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, man, and
just
they're
thought
actually
it was
pretty
1.
good. 2 and 3 are pretty good from what I mean.
Is this still all in a mall?
So
sequel?
two is in Vegas, 3 is in. I forget where that is. I might have mixed them up, but I played 1 and 2. 3 I know of. People like 1 through 3. 4 is when they gave it to Canadian developers. Capcom outsourced it, and they changed a lot of stuff. People didn't really like it.
Why does Capcom do that? They clearly haven't learned their lesson.
I think with this, hopefully this brings back Dead Rising because Dead Rising 4 killed it. And they stepped away from it. Now, Dead Rising was on that survey as if people did want to see it come back, but
Did it? Okay.
we didn't know that it was coming back this soon because they definitely had it in the pipeline. But people are saying it's in the RE engine now. That's what people are saying. I don't know if that's true, but
Is it the same guy in every game? The same character?
so they changed it up. So the second one had this guy named Chuck. The third one, I forget the guy's name. The second one actually had a spin-off game called Case West, where you actually go in as Frank in all the locations of the second game, and you play his side of the story. So it's actually they kind of did a cool little hybrid. It was called Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. They came out with the second one, and then Off the Record came out, and then the third one actually launched with Xbox One. That was actually a launch title, and that's why I didn't play it right away because I didn't have an Xbox One at the time. And that's one I still got to go back and play. But yeah, I'm a huge Dead Rising fan. As far as those first 2 games, and I'm excited for this remaster or remake, whatever people want to call it. It's very hard to tell what they're doing. It looks like they're just reskinning everything, but I don't really know. So we'll see.
I used to put
you know.
the little Lego heads on the zombies.
Oh yeah, that was the best. They had the Mega Man blaster that you could get, like just such cool references in there.
Yeah.
That now with today's like engines, you know how many zombies you can have on the screen, like without it being any lag. I mean, it's going to be crazy. So hopefully we get a date, and fingers crossed that we get some official Resident Evil announcement soon, as far as a new game or remake. But we'll see. But yeah, guys, that's about it for this show. I just want to let everyone know, Keeper's Diary, it's coming out Sunday, June 30th. I don't think we have a time yet. Or can we say a time that it's premiering? Or
I don't know. I have no idea when. I just know it's on Sunday.
Just Sunday. But yeah, so once I have the link and the event's up.
We have a time? Is there a time? Did we say a time?
I think we're looking between 10 and 12 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's what we're thinking.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, you heard it here first. So you have we'll have the event. I'll share it and all that stuff. We've been hyping it up pretty much all week. So yeah, I just want to say, Andrew, JJ, Beggy, thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And we'll have to do it again soon, whether it's individually or we just talk about some other RE stuff that's going on, for sure. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and but before we get out of here, we'll start with Andrew. Where can people find you on the socials and all that good stuff?
Instagram and Twitter, I think it's just Andrew Saullo. So my last name is Saullo. So just find me there.
Cool deal. JJ, what about you?
Just my personal is JJ from Row on Twitter, and Residents of Evil on at Row Network on pretty much everything.
Perfect. And Beggy?
Cool. Mine is Beggy Beg on Twitch and on Twitter and YouTube. And then on Twitch, Row Network, which is ROENETWRK.
Perfect. Yeah, and so
you're welcome for spelling that out. I know I did that, but
it's all good. I'll put all the links down below, and can't wait to see everyone's reaction. And I'll probably have Nuji and Andy on another show probably sometime after it premieres, and have those guys on. We just couldn't get them on with time zones and everything, but it's all good. And that's about it, guys. So thanks again for coming on, and everyone listening and watching at home, take care. Here's my cat. Yeah. Here's my cat, James. And we're all signing off, and take care, and we'll catch everyone in the next one. Peace out.
See ya.
Bye.